Hi everybody, and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Relationship Advice, and it's by user Deleted, Recovered, Throw Array, Was It Me? My stepdaughter, 24, just made a pass at me, 45, and I have no idea what to do now. Let me start with the backstory. I met my wife 14 years ago while she was going through a messy divorce. 6 months after that, her divorce was final and I met her son, now 27, and daughter, now 24. I have no kids of my own and never thought I liked kids in general, but her kids became the exception and I do not think I could care more about them if they were my own. They have different fathers and both of them were physically and emotionally abusive to the children and my wife. None of us have had any contact with either of their fathers for almost 10 years. My stepson is married to a great girl with 2 kids of their own. I'm incredibly proud of him and we talk often. My stepdaughter, I'm very proud of her as well, but she has had a few more problems arise. She is still my favorite girl and I would move heaven and hell for her, but she tends to choose men more like her father, cowardly and weak man-child. I was always there for her and we could talk about anything, and other than her choice of men, our personalities were very similar. So 4 months ago, after breaking up with the latest asshat, she moved back in with us. A month after that, we found out she was pregnant. She is now 5 months pregnant. I work from home and my wife does not. This means my stepdaughter spends a lot of time with me and I also drive her to her doctor appointments and maternity clothes shopping, which is what we were doing today. I drove her to Bye Bye Baby. We did some baby and new mother shopping. On the way home, she talked to me about the crappy texts that asshat had sent her over the weekend, saying how she would be a horrible mother and how his baby would be better off if she did herself in, etc. And yes, I've decided he and I need to have a little conversation, much like the conversation I had with my stepdaughter's father 10 years ago. When we got home, we sat in the driveway as I comforted her, gave her lots of positive affirmation and told her how useless asshat was. Next thing I know, she tells me that she wishes the baby was mine and hers and she kisses me on the lips. What the F? I pulled away and mumbled something about not ruining a good thing, how I love her mom. I made a bad joke about being with a pretty woman in her 20s would probably kill me, and for the next 2 hours I was basically on autopilot, putting stuff away and made dinner for the 3 of us after my wife got home. I have been in my den for the last 4 hours claiming I was working, but I have no freaking clue what to do. What should I tell my wife? What should I say to my stepdaughter? Should I say anything to either of them? Should I just finish this bottle of Captain Morgan and pass out? Look, this isn't something I can go to a friend or relative about, so I'm coming here. I need some thoughts here, people. Alright, OP, in my opinion, you need to tell your wife. You need to talk to your wife and tell her what happened. This is a girl that you've known since she's like 10 or 11. You're like a father figure to her, so I'm pretty sure she's kinda confused about what's going on. I don't think she actually wishes that you were the father of the baby, but maybe she wishes that somebody like you was the actual father of the baby. If that's what's going on, then your stepdaughter needs help. I mean, you said it yourself, these are children that had abusive parents, so maybe she does have a lot of issues regarding her father. But anyway, like I said in the beginning, the first thing you need to do is talk to your wife. It is her daughter, and she's gonna find out anyway, so it's best that it comes from you. And what do you guys think? What would you do if you were in OP's shoes, or what kind of advice would you give him? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Lingoberry Plain says, I haven't seen this mentioned yet, but sometimes children who come from rocky families sometimes confuse a healthy attachment, also known as your relationship with her, as romantic love because they have not experienced healthy romantic platonic love before. This has been seen often when a stepmother who is mentally healthy and a stepson whose bio mother was abusive or absent. This is also seen when someone goes to therapy. A person can feel the emotion of love towards their therapist, but what they are experiencing for the first time is a healthier attachment style. I think this, combined with the anxiety of being a single mother, plus maybe the hormones of pregnancy, can be making your stepdaughter confused and scared about a lot of things. The most important thing you and your wife can do is approach this subject for what it is, a confusion that your daughter is experiencing, and help her get into some therapy. I'd also suggest maybe some therapy for you as well to help you cope with this instead of turning to drinking. Good luck! Throwaway Sysprob says, having been in a similar position, as in asshat knocked me up and was crappy even after we split, not as in making a pass at my stepdad, in my experience, if a guy is nice to you, acts paternal to you, and wants to be there for you and the baby, in a time where you are hormonal, vulnerable, and coming off the last in a long line of bad relationships, it's a completely normal thing to wish that someone like him had been the father, because OP is being a good father to her and a good grandfather to the baby. It is not normal to make a pass at your stepdad. That's my attempt at rationalizing this. Wife needs to be informed and therapy needs to be started pronto. Fairy88 says, professionals of psychological disciplines call this transference. You're the one man she's ever had in her life who loves and cares about her in a positive way. To her, that treatment seems unique to you, as in, she hasn't processed that she can be treated that well by someone else. She's also confusing her own love for you with sexual and romantic love, which makes me wonder if her biological father or previous stepfathers sexually abused her. My advice is to get her into therapy. Get yourself some therapy too, because while you did reject her advances, good, the way you did it, it validated the possibility of a sexual relationship between you two under different circumstances. Not so good. You need to have her centered in your head as your daughter, step or otherwise, not as a sexually available woman. I am in no way accusing you of fantasizing about her or thinking about her that way prior to this. All I'm saying is that your knee-jerk response was more in line with a random woman her age and less in line with a parental relationship. But reassure her that you will always be here for her and your grandkid, because one thing that pregnancy hormones do is trigger the good dad spidey senses, and she's probably anxious about raising her kid in a world full of men who would use and abuse her. And Opie responds, thank you, this makes sense to me. She was in therapy as a preteen because of her father, so I know she is not averse to it. We are a family that has been abused in one form or another in our youths. One of the reasons I was hypersensitive to it when I met my wife and her kids. Used to think about Law and Order and how the abused always become abusers. I hate that show. Cost me years of paranoia and way too much introspection. And you're right, I should have been more direct verbally with her at the time. Well, it sounds like the community gave OP some great advice and it makes sense to him. So how about we move on with the update to see what happened next? It has been a couple of days since my post, and this is what has gone down. I received a lot of good advice, and my initial reaction to rug sweep and hope I saw was not the right way. That was based on fear. I thought that maybe I had been too close to her, doing things the father of the baby should be doing, and I remembered her, as a teenager, telling me how lucky her mom was to meet the only good man around, and how she hoped one day to meet someone just like me. It made me feel good that I was considered by those I love as a good man, because I wasn't a good young man, and so when her mother opened her family to me, I felt blessed. Also, I have read the stories about step-parents being evil as well as false allegations, and so I was terrified that everything will end. My own karma from my past will take away that which I cherish. I was afraid of losing what I have. Anyway, once I recognized my cowardice, I was able to see what was the right thing to do. To me, the question was, do I talk first with my stepdaughter or my wife? A lot of people said to go directly to my wife before my stepdaughter could change the story, and I understand the reasoning. But once I started thinking and not just feeling and reacting, I couldn't do that. My stepdaughter deserved to be heard. I have loved her like a daughter for almost 15 years, and she has always been a young woman deserving of my respect, except for her choices of boyfriends. At first, she blamed the hormones, but I just raised my eyebrows like, you're really going there? But after a minute, she finally told the truth, I think. She told me she had been in love with me since she was a teenager, and it was the reason she left home after graduating high school. She thought she had gotten over me, but every time she came home to visit, she moved a few states away, she would realize how terrible her boyfriends were and how she still loved me. Around 6 months ago, she came to visit us for a week and brought the future baby daddy with her. I hated him. He was obviously doing hard drugs and was making a career from gaming. And by career, I mean sponging off of others at the age of 30 while popping pills and snorting H. She left here and dumped him about a month after that. At this point in her narrative, I was understanding her problem, unrequited love, forbidden desires, etc., etc. And I do think she embellished some of the problems. I told her that I didn't mean she should go for it with me. When she came back, she saw that my wife and I had started sleeping in separate rooms. I'm a restless sleeper and wake when a pin drops, and she snores really loud. When we found out about the baby, we planned to use the room I was using as a nursery and I would move back into the bedroom. She thought that her chance to be with me was ending and decided that day to make her move. And in her effed up thinking, she thought I would move into her room instead of my wife's and we would just all of us live together. She knew the second I pulled away from her that she was wrong and that she effed up. She told me how sorry she was and let's just say she convinced me she felt bad. I told her I was going to talk to her mother, but she needed to know this could never happen again. What she wanted would destroy everyone I care about, and that included her, and I will not let that happen. When my wife came home, I let her know we needed to talk together with me telling her what happened. She knew something was up since she didn't see either of us that night, but she figured my stepdaughter and I had an argument or we just needed some space. Not uncommon for either of us. For a minute, she just stared at me and then said she would have expected this 10 years ago, but thought her daughter had grown the F up by this time. I was flabbergasted. "What are you talking about?" I asked, and she told me that my stepdaughter had a crush on me back then. I told her that was crazy. She claimed it was obvious, and I have always been oblivious to how women flirt with me. She is nuts. People are just nice around me. She told me we should have a talk with her daughter together, but first, she wants to talk to her alone. About an hour later, my wife asked me to join them, and I did. The following is what was decided. My stepdaughter will be going to therapy. I am still allowed in the birthing room. Stepdaughter is to be fully clothed in common areas of the house. It asked no more skimpy shorts or just a bra for a top. No pointing out to me how her breasts are getting bigger. By the way, I didn't know that was a flirting thing. I just thought she was sharing pregnancy information. My wife could be right about me being oblivious. And my wife trusts me to inform her if my stepdaughter gets out of line. If stepdaughter F's up again, she will be staying with her brother and we will be telling him why. So that's it. Thank you to so many that gave good advice. Alright OP, awesome. Once again, proving that communication is the way to go. Thanks for sharing OP and all the best in your grandchild's birth. Take care. And now let's move on to the next post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance and it's by user PTR is me. Professor made me write my entire final project in the intensive care unit. I know the title sounds intense, but there is no way I can make it less like clickbait, cause it is what it is. So back in early December I started to feel sick. Not sick, but I had not been able to eat a lot and lost around 8 kilos of weight in 10 days. I will admit that I am fat and was kind of happy that I just magically dropped weight. I was blaming it on too little rest, I just didn't get used to the food here in the US, I come from another country, or I might have digestive problems, might need to check them out. It was on the 13th that everything just suddenly went downhill. I woke up exhausted, sweating, and not being able to eat anything other than drinking bottles and bottles of water. It lasted for the entire day until 10 p.m.-ish. I started to feel like I'm about to pass out, so I went to an ER nearby with my roommate. Well, in short, I had COVID, as well as a certain life-threatening thing going on. I'm not going to name it, but some of you might be able to tell from the above. I had immediately a bunch of IVs put in me and was moved to one of the ICUs. I lost consciousness as soon as I arrived in the ICU and didn't wake up until the next morning. And for the next 48 hours or so, I have been slipping in and out of consciousness. My doctor wanted me to sit in a chair instead of laying down all day, so pretty much all day I was just passed out in a chair. I can vaguely remember dropping my phone on the floor and I didn't even have the energy to pick it up. Now, all that was just the build-up. On the third day, when I finally felt better, I went on my school portal and saw a new message from one of my professors, telling me that I'm late for turning in my essay for the final project, cause it was finals week, duh. I know I had the essay 80% completed and it was in my laptop, which was packed and sent to a friend's place by my roommate because we were moving out of our dorm room at the time. And that friend happened to be out of town in New York celebrating the New Year. And even if my roommate got the laptop somehow from my friend's place, they wouldn't have been able to hand it in to me because I had COVID and they didn't allow visiting. So yeah, everything was effed. I explained the entire situation to the professor in a long, fully written out message, and they never responded. Fast forward a few days, the professor contacted me again, this time via email, to ask about my assignment. Their entire message was like, my name, where is your project? I was triggered, I was mad. Well, to be honest, I wasn't in my best mental state because of what happened in the past few days, so I pasted my entire message that I sent to her in my email responding to that, just in case she hadn't read it on the school portal website. She went something like, well, too bad, I'm going to have to fail you on this project cause it has been assigned for 2 weeks and you should have done it then. Ma'am, I could have totally finished it before the deadline if I wasn't in the ICU and in a coma for 2 days without my laptop. The doctors ended up deciding to keep me for a few more days after I'm no longer in danger, and hell did I make good use of that time. I asked for a bunch of paper that, of course, had the hospital's name printed on them. I wrote my entire essay again, by hand on them. When you write the same piece of text the second time, trust me, it becomes way easier than the first time. I made sure to write as neatly as I can, trying my best to guilt them in every way possible. Then, as I promised in my response, I took a picture of it, making sure that I accidentally included my hand that is swollen with the IV plugged in and a bit of my hospital robe, they call it a Johnny, and sent it away. I sent the assignment to them on December the 17th, and almost a month after this, way after the semester has ended, they called and kinda sort of apologized. I was too busy to check my messages because finals were coming up, so I barely looked at your explanation, blah blah blah. I've no idea where they got my number, but fine, I'll take it. As of now, I have decided to gap the spring semester and go back to my home country for a bit. My health has been greatly affected by what happened, and going back home to take some rest might be good for me. I also get to spend some time with my mom, who has been very anxious since the first day I had the medical incident. The end. Opie's edit. Now that I think about it, I could have typed it on my phone, but what's the fun in that? Especially when I have 72 free hours with nothing good to do other than watching TV news all day? Well, Opie, she wanted your essay, she got your essay, and a big side dish of guilt. Hope you get well better soon, Opie, and take care. Thanks for sharing. And it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I really did enjoy reading them to you. So if you did, then don't be shy and go ahead and give the video a like. And don't forget to subscribe or even share this video with people that you might think will enjoy my storytelling. Also, if you have the time, go down to the video description and check out all the links I have for you, from our Discord community to my channel merch. And finally, I'd like to say thank you for watching. It really means a lot to me that you enjoy my videos. And having said all that, I'll see you guys in the next video.